Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. As Penny approached the cafe, she caught sight of David waiting patiently at an outdoor table. His eyes lit up when he spotted her, and he stood to greet her with a warm smile. "I'm so sorry I'm late," Penny apologized, smoothing down her floral sundress. She felt self-conscious about her appearance, certain that her hastily applied makeup couldn't hide the effects of her rough morning. David shook his head, his smile unwavering. "Don't worry about it. You look beautiful as always." Penny felt a blush creep across her cheeks at the compliment. "You're too kind. I feel like a mess." "A beautiful mess, then," David teased, pulling out a chair for her. They settled into their seats, and a waiter promptly appeared to take their orders. Penny opted for a light salad and sparkling water, her stomach still uneasy from the night before. "So, rough night?" David asked, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Penny groaned. "You have no idea. I don't even remember how I got home. Well, I'm glad you made it safely, and I'm even gladder you made it here today." Their food arrived, and they fell into easy conversation as they ate. Penny found herself relaxing, the tension from her rushed morning melting away in David's presence. "Oh, I meant to tell you," Penny said between bites. "I've got everything arranged for the bridal experience next month. It's going to be amazing." David's eyebrows shot up. "The wedding, you mean?" Penny laughed. "Well, yes, but it's not really a wedding. It's just easier to call it that sometimes." "Ah, I see." David nodded, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "So, am I going to have to fight off any other potential grooms?" Penny rolled her eyes, but couldn't suppress her smile. "You're ridiculous. You know it's just for the experience." I know. David held up his hands in mock surrender. "But a man can dream, can't he?" As they finished their meal, David suggested a walk in the nearby park. Penny agreed, grateful for the chance to stretch her legs and clear her head. The park was a welcome oasis of green amidst the urban landscape. Families picnicked on the grass, while joggers and dog walkers meandered along the winding paths. As they strolled, David's hand brushed against Penny's, and after a moment's hesitation, she intertwined her fingers with his. Penny felt a surge of confidence as they walked hand in hand. Her sundress swished around her knees, and she reveled in the feeling of femininity it provided. She noticed appreciative glances from both men and women as they passed, and it filled her with a warm glow of satisfaction. They found a secluded bench beneath a sprawling oak tree and sat down. David turned to face Penny, his expression suddenly serious. "Penny, I need to tell you something," he began, his voice low and earnest. Penny's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" David took a deep breath. "I know we're just friends, and I know about your situation with Rachel, but I can't help how I feel about you. You're beautiful, intelligent, and kind. I'm attracted to you, Penny, and I wanted you to know that." Penny felt a rush of emotions. Flattery, excitement, and guilt all swirling together in a confusing mix. She leaned in, drawn by the intensity in David's eyes, and their lips met in a soft, tentative kiss. For a moment, Penny lost herself in the sensation, but then reality came crashing back, and she pulled away abruptly. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I can't... Rachel!" David nodded, understanding and regret etched on his face. "I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have done that. I know you're married." They sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of what had just happened hanging between them. Finally, David spoke again. "I hope this doesn't change things between us. I still want to be your friend, and I still want to be your groom for the bridal experience. If you'll have me, that is." Penny looked at him, her emotions still in turmoil. I'd like that. You're a good friend, David, and I do care about you. It's just... complicated," David finished for her. Penny nodded. "Yes, complicated. I love Rachel, I really do. But sometimes I feel so confused about everything." David reached out and squeezed her hand gently. It's okay to be confused. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the world go by around them. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, Penny stood up. I should get going, she said. Rachel will be wondering where I am. David nodded and stood as well. Can I walk you back to your apartment? Penny hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I'd like that. As they walked back through the park and onto the city streets, both were lost in their own thoughts. The easy camaraderie of their lunch seemed a distant memory now, replaced by a new, tentative understanding. When they reached Penny's apartment building, they paused awkwardly on the sidewalk. Thank you for today, Penny said softly. Despite everything, I had a good time. David smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. Me too. I'll see you soon. Penny nodded. For the bridal experience. And maybe coffee sometime before that. I'd like that, David replied. They shared a brief hug, and then Penny turned and entered her building. As she rode the elevator up to her floor, she felt a mixture of emotions washing over her. When she entered her apartment, Rachel was in the kitchen preparing dinner. The smell of sautéing garlic and onions filled the air. Hey, love, Rachel called out. How was your day? Penny took a deep breath, pushing away the tumultuous thoughts and focusing on the present moment. It was interesting, she replied, moving to join her wife in the kitchen. What are you cooking? It smells amazing. As Rachel launched into an explanation of the new recipe she was trying, Penny felt a wave of love and gratitude wash over her. Despite her confusion and the complicated feelings she was grappling with, she knew that this life with Rachel was what she wanted. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity as Penny threw herself into preparations for the bridal experience. She found herself grateful for the distraction, using it as a way to avoid dwelling on her conflicted feelings. One sunny afternoon, Penny was at a local boutique, trying on various wedding gowns. She stood before a full-length mirror, admiring the way the white satin hugged her curves and flowed elegantly to the floor. You look stunning, the boutique owner, a kind-faced woman named Elena, said warmly. Your groom won't be able to take his eyes off you. Penny felt a pang of guilt at the word groom, thinking of both David and Rachel. Thank you, she managed to say, forcing a smile. It's not a real wedding, though, just an experience. Elena nodded understandingly. Ah, I see. Well, real or not, you deserve to feel beautiful, and you certainly look it in that dress. As Penny changed back into her regular clothes, she couldn't shake the image of herself in the wedding gown. It had felt right, somehow, in a way she hadn't expected. She found herself looking forward to the bridal experience with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The day of the bridal experience dawned bright and clear. Penny woke early, her stomach fluttering with nervous anticipation. She showered and began the process of getting ready, applying her makeup with extra care and styling her hair into soft, romantic curls. As she slipped into the wedding gown she had chosen, Penny caught sight of herself in the mirror and paused. The woman staring back at her was radiant, glowing with an inner light that seemed to illuminate the entire room. For a moment, all her doubts and confusion melted away, and she simply allowed herself to feel beautiful. A knock at the door startled her out of her reverie. It was Rachel, coming to help with the final touches. Oh, Penny, Rachel breathed as she entered the room. You look incredible. Penny felt tears pricking at her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. I'm so glad you're here with me for this. Rachel moved forward and took Penny's hands in hers. I wouldn't miss it for the world. This is your day to shine, love. As Rachel helped Penny with her veil and jewelry, they chatted about nothing in particular, the familiar rhythm of their conversation soothing Penny's nerves. When they were finished, Rachel stepped back to admire her handiwork. Perfect, she declared. David's a lucky man, even if it is just for today. Penny felt a twinge of guilt at the mention of David's name, but pushed it aside. Today was about celebrating her journey, her identity, and the love and support she had in her life. The venue for the bridal experience was a picturesque garden bursting with colorful blooms and fragrant flowers. A small group of Penny's closest friends and family had gathered to share in the occasion. As Penny made her way down the makeshift aisle, she saw David waiting for her, looking handsome in a well-tailored suit. The ceremony itself was brief but beautiful, with heartfelt vows exchanged and rings symbolically placed on fingers. The reception that followed was a joyous affair, with music, dancing, and laughter filling the air. Penny found herself swept up in the celebration, twirling on the dance floor with various partners and basking in the love and acceptance that surrounded her. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Penny found a quiet moment to slip away from the festivities. She made her way to a secluded corner of the garden, where a small bench sat nestled among fragrant rose bushes. She had only been sitting for a moment when she heard footsteps approaching. Looking up, she saw David making his way towards her. "Mind if I join you?" he asked softly. Penny patted the spot next to her on the bench. "Please do." They sat in companionable silence for a few moments, watching the sky turn from gold to pink to deep purple. "Thank you for today," Penny said finally. "It was more than I could have hoped for." David turned to her, his expression serious. "Penny, I need to say something. I know things have been a bit complicated between us since that day in the park, but I want you to know that I treasure your friendship above all else. Whatever feelings I may have, they don't change the fact that you're one of the most important people in my life." Penny felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Oh, David," she whispered. "You're important to me, too. I'm sorry if I've been distant lately. I've been so confused about everything." David reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "You don't need to apologize. Life is messy and complicated sometimes. But I'm here for you, always, in whatever capacity you need me to be." Penny nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. They sat together in silence as the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. After a while, David stood and offered his hand to Penny. "Shall we rejoin the party? I believe you owe me one last dance as your groom." Penny laughed, wiping away a stray tear. "I suppose I do." As they made their way back to the reception, Penny felt a sense of peace settling over her. The day had been everything she had hoped for, and more. She had been able to experience something she had always dreamed of, surrounded by love and support. The final dance of the evening was a slow, romantic number. As David led her around the dance floor, Penny caught sight of Rachel watching them from the sidelines, a soft smile on her face. In that moment, Penny felt overwhelmingly grateful for the love in her life, the romantic love she shared with Rachel, and the deep, abiding friendship she had with David. As the music faded and the evening drew to a close, Penny found herself surrounded by her loved ones, all offering hugs and congratulations. The air was thick with joy and acceptance, and Penny felt her heart swell with emotion. Later that night, as she and Rachel prepared for bed, Penny recounted the events of the day, her eyes shining with happiness. "It was perfect," she concluded. "I feel so lucky to have experienced it." Rachel pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "You deserved every moment of it, love. I'm so proud of you and how far you've come." As Penny drifted off to sleep that night, still wearing the delicate necklace David had given her as part of the ceremony, she felt a sense of contentment wash over her. The journey to self-acceptance was ongoing, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead. But for now, she was at peace with who she was and the love that surrounded her. In the days and weeks that followed, Penny found herself reflecting often on the bridal experience. It had been a day of joy and celebration, but it had also brought clarity to some of the confusion she had been feeling. Her friendship with David had emerged stronger, tempered by honesty and mutual understanding. They continued to meet for coffee or lunch regularly, their conversations flowing easily between light-hearted banter and more serious topics. Penny found herself grateful for David's unwavering support and his ability to make her laugh, even on her toughest days. At the same time, her relationship with Rachel deepened. The experience had sparked many conversations between them about identity, love, and the nature of their partnership. Rachel's unwavering support throughout the process had only strengthened Penny's love and appreciation for her wife. One evening, about a month after the bridal experience, Penny and Rachel were curled up on their couch, a half-empty bottle of wine on the coffee table in front of them. Penny was idly twirling the necklace David had given her, lost in thought. "Penny, for your thoughts?" Rachel asked, a small smile playing on her lips at the old joke. Penny chuckled softly. "I was just thinking about everything that's happened in the past few months. The bridal experience, my friendship with David, us." She trailed off, searching for the right words. Rachel waited patiently, her hand resting comfortably on Penny's knee. "I feel like I've finally found my place in the world," Penny continued after a moment. "For so long, I felt like I was trying to fit into boxes that weren't made for me. But now I feel like I can just be me. All of me." Rachel's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I'm so happy to hear that, love. That's all I've ever wanted for you." Penny leaned in. "Thank you for being by my side through all of it. I couldn't have done it without you." As they settled back into comfortable silence, Penny felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey to self-acceptance was far from over, but she knew she had the strength and support to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next day, Penny met David for their usual coffee date. As they sat at their favorite corner table, steam rising from their mugs, Penny found herself studying her friend's face. "What's on your mind?" David asked, catching her gaze. Penny smiled. "I was just thinking about how grateful I am for your friendship. You've been such an important part of my journey." David reached across the table, squeezing her hand gently. "And you've been an important part of mine. I'm honored to be your friend, Penny." As they fell into easy conversation, discussing everything from current events to their latest Netflix binges, Penny felt a warmth spreading through her chest. This was what true friendship looked like, accepting each other wholly, supporting each other's growth, and finding joy in each other's company. The seasons changed, summer fading into autumn, and Penny found herself embracing each day with a newfound sense of purpose and joy. She threw herself into her work, her relationships, and her ongoing journey of self-discovery. One day, Penny decided to take a solitary walk in the park where she and David had shared that fateful kiss months ago. The trees were ablaze with red and gold leaves, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wood smoke and apples. As she walked, Penny reflected on how much had changed since that day. The confusion and guilt she had felt then had given way to a deep sense of self-assurance and peace. She no longer felt torn between her feelings for David and her love for Rachel. Instead, she had found a balance, appreciating the unique role each person played in her life. Penny found herself at the bench where she and David had sat that day. She settled onto it, closing her eyes and tilting her face up to catch the warm autumn sunlight. A sense of contentment washed over her, and she found herself smiling. "Penny, for your thoughts?" a familiar voice asked. Penny opened her eyes to see David standing before her, a paper bag from their favorite bakery in his hand. "Fancy meeting you here," Penny said with a grin. "Are those what I think they are?" David nodded, sitting down beside her and opening the bag to reveal 2 perfectly flaky croissants. "I had a feeling I might find you here today," he said, handing her one of the pastries. As they sat together, enjoying their impromptu picnic and watching the world go by, Penny felt a surge of affection for her friend. Their relationship had evolved into something beautiful and unique, a bond that defied easy categorization but was no less meaningful for it. "You know," Penny said after a while, brushing croissant crumbs from her lap, I used to think that love was this finite thing, that if I loved one person, it somehow diminished what I could feel for anyone else. But I've realized that's not true at all. David nodded, encouraging her to continue. The love I have for Rachel, the love I have for you as my friend, the love I'm learning to have for myself, they're all different, but they all make me stronger. They all make me more me. David's eyes crinkled with emotion. That's beautiful, Penny, and I couldn't agree more. As the afternoon wore on, they walked through the park, sharing stories and laughter. When it was time to part ways, they hugged tightly, the embrace speaking volumes about the depth of their friendship. Penny made her way home, her heart full. As she entered the apartment, she found Rachel in the kitchen, preparing dinner. "Hey, love," Rachel called out. "How was your day?" Penny moved to join her wife, wrapping her arms around her from, "It was wonderful. I ran into David at the park." Rachel turned in Penny's arms, searching her face. Finding only contentment there, she smiled. "That's nice. How is he doing?" "He's good," Penny replied. "We had a great talk. You know, I'm so grateful for both of you, for the different ways you love and support me." Rachel's eyes softened. "And we're grateful for you, Penny. You bring so much light into our lives." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.